And that's www.smitetactics.com if you want to learn a little bit more about those games, or that game rather. Those games are right up my wheelhouse, so I'm definitely really into the whole strategy stuff.
Super fun. I was playing the same night Tolly was. Didn't get to queue up against each other. Would have really preferred to put Tolly in his place, but we'll have to wait.
I'm downloading Civilization 6 after this.
Oh, dude.
We're going to
a
different battleground of the gods
Lord,
after
here
this.
we
Smite
go.
Tactics, definitely a lot of fun. Wish I got to see some more behind the scenes stuff, but I'm really excited to see it finally get launched off the ground. And in that nature, we've got some real Smite coming on, and I'm sure these guys have some tactics in their wheelhouse as well. It's Obey versus NRG. Now, everybody's qualified. We know that NRG and Obey are both going to the Super Regionals, but in what order will they go? This is probably one of the most important seeding ones for this Super Regionals, strictly because Sanguine snuck in there, and Sanguine is considered by a large part of the fan base to be maybe not up to snuff in comparison, especially to these two teams. So whoever winds up on top will be #1 seed, and they'll be able to take on Sanguine.
That's right. Obey, they still have the opportunity if they find 3 points here by 2-0ing NRG, and then NRG having to lose both games against Cyclone, which is a very far-fetched idea, but it's still likely impossible,
Sure.
and that would put Obey at a good spot because they would be against Sanguine, who just came out of nowhere in Group A.
Yeah, very unlikely that we see NRG drop the next 4 games, basically, up against Obey and Cyclone. But, you know, Obey, this is a great chance for them to test out what works against the top-tier team like NRG, because they're going to need it going up against Orbit if that's the matchup they get.
And when it comes down to bringing out all the stops and some of the surprise tactics, if you will, we've got Ataraxia. Ataraxia and his famous originality and his famous interesting builds are certainly a big part of what makes Obey Alliance the Obey Alliance. You can see 16-17 win-loss, very cut down the middle, whereas his opposition, emilitoo, a little bit more successful. But bringing it back to Ataraxia, this man has been very successful in his Smite career, but has yet to really grab gold.
Now is his opportunity. Off of that last win, that could be the momentum that he really needs to try to find the wins up against NRG. They haven't had a lot of success against NRG. They didn't win against them in the online phase. They lost to them earlier on this weekend, so they really need to find the confidence to be able to take these fights against NRG.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, not only testing out different compositions, but just getting that confidence that they can beat a top-tier team. During the online stages, they lost to every team. They lost to Orbit, and NRG beat everyone else. And this guy right here is a big part of why Obey struggles. emilitoo has looked absolutely phenomenal this weekend. Been the only hunter that's kind of in the conversation with Barracuda for me for who's on top of the hunter world.
Absolutely. I mean, for sure. Looking at emilitoo, we said Ataraxia had really struggled to grab the gold. Well, emilitoo pretty much does nothing else. Gold, even every time he shows up. emilitoo a little quiet on the sidelines, but in game, anything but.
Emil the troll. Yeah, I don't know. Emil's a strange kind of player. You never see him do too much hype stuff on ADC. There was one game where he played Apollo, I think, a dream hack, and he destroyed everybody. But normally he's just, you know, going about doing his work, taunting people, laughing at people, baiting everybody in. And yeah, he's another one like Dimi, who's just consistent, does his job, doesn't really make the hype plays so much, but he definitely is a huge factor in why that team does so well.
emilitoo is he's a wild card. Sometimes he plays like global ultimates. Oh, I'm just gonna pick Blank Cave just because now nobody can see anything.
emilitoo, toxic. No, emilitoo is an incredibly talented player.
emilitoo, most aggressive hunter, has its advantages, has its disadvantages, but it works for NRG.
emilitoo is my boy. That's me and him are the foundation of the team. I love him. I've been friends with him for a long time, considering we used to be the worst enemies too. Like, if you ask emilitoo about how our relationship was at the start of Smite, it's crazy. It went from like up, down, and now we're best mates.
Best mates to best teammates to some of the best players in the world. emilitoo and his dual lane companion iRaffer certainly a large part of what makes NRG so incredibly dominant, and their jungler is part of that as well. That's why you see the Ao Kuang ban only against NRG for the most part.
Just great synergy with these teammates from the side of NRG, sticking together for 18 months now. They're going on their 4th land win in a row if they're able to take at least one game out of Obey.
Or out of Cyclone. I mean, they're basically looking to be in a great spot moving forward here. And you mentioned it, 4 lane wins in a row, the longevity of this roster, the flexibility of this roster. I mean, yeah, you always talk about Aokwang, Thor, those sorts of things when it comes to adapting. And then he carries games on Nemesis. Then he, does crazy things in the solo lane. Hunter, they could play it all. They could play any style and beat you at whatever your game plan is.
That's what I like the most about watching NRG play, and why I think they're so successful as Jing is locked in for Ataraxia on Obey, is the fact that when you're looking at most of the teams, you can sort of point to the star and maybe the secondary star. When you look at NRG, you can watch the past year of VODs and say, all right, here's a group of games that emilitoo carried, here's a group of games that Adapting carried, here's a group of games, and you'll even find a couple that iRaffer himself, the support, winds up bringing to victory. That's really why NRG is so successful. You can't ban out a single player. As you can see, the Aokwang and the Terra banned out here, but yet Isis and Fafnir are selected, and we've heard analysts say, well, you just can't give Yammyn the Isis, and he's got it.
They just got too many tools of the trade right now from NRG. They are able to really run anything. They've seen it all, they've faced it all, and they know what works for them the most. They're going to go for this Isis Fafnir composition, trying to go for this objective control and teamfight control. Having that circle of protection, having the AoE coerce, is just what you really need to do to not only get the objectives, but win the teamfights.
On the other hand, though, Obey's composition is perfect for them right now. I mean, I think of Ataraxia, I think Jingwei. When I think of CaptainTwig, I think Batz. When I think variety, I think tier. We're 3 for 3 thus far for Obey, and you're right. I mean, Yammyn on Isis and iRaffer on Fafnir, 2 very potent combinations, and Dimi on Erlang has been very, very dominant so far this weekend. But I love Obey's draft as well.
And Obey's the team that can realistically take things off of NRG, and when you give them everything they want, I think Obey can definitely compete here. Second round of bans. Obey Alliance already have their Hunter, their Jungle, and their Solo. So likely, when you think about it, I think that NRG will be likely to focus on the support role. PrettyPriMe plays with PrettyPriMe plays.
PrettyPriMe can honestly do whatever he wants to at this point with the Batz. It's just all comfort pick, like you were saying, Aggro, and this is something that maybe Obey needs to try to do because they have yet to really take a game away from NRG, even though they possibly could here, but they really need to dig deep and find a right strategy to shut down NRG, whether or not that's getting into their mindset or looking for more objective control.
I love the bans here from both teams. Freya taken away from ML. He's been such a problem for Obey. I mean, he played at both games up against them yesterday and really just put in a ton of work, banning that away from ML. Surprised to see the Zeus ban here, though. I really would have figured it was going to be Vulcan. Like you mentioned, PrettyPriMe will play what PrettyPriMe plays, but he plays Vulcan really well.
The Vulcan, I think, is a bait because, honestly, NRG are probably going to save their last pick for Adapting, and it might be the Thor or the Fenrir. Oh, the Fenrir is banned. Okay, yeah, never mind. Because, like, Fenrir would be the perfect counter pick towards the Vulcan, but Naja would be a good alternative, especially being paired up with the Isis. You're looking for the very early aggression between Yammyn and Adapting.
And you talk about it all the time when it comes to Vulcan and Zeus interactions with that turret, but ring bounce is the same sort of thing, and that's why Naja, I agree with you, would be a really solid pick here. Cabrakan looks like that's going to go to Frezzy, I would guess. The variety showing the little sly smile right there, bringing out something new, and like I mentioned, a great time for Obey to do that. They know that they're most likely not going to be the first seed here. They may as well try and get some confidence and test the waters.
Cabrakan's such an oddball, interesting pick, and that's why Obey Alliance wasn't too concerned about the Zeus ban. They're going to bring Chang'e back into the game. We've seen a couple of teams, Cringe Crew specifically, trying to make the Chang'e work in the solo lane. Wasn't so successful.
Unfortunately, not so successful because NRG, they knew what they needed to do to take advantage of it. They ran an assassin coming out of the jungle for Adapting and a warrior on Dimi, playing the all-along Shen again. So I expect a lot of early rotations and aggression in the mid lane.
I can't believe that anyone's picking Chang'e into Dimi, not even in the solo lane, just in general. After what he did to Zeros in that lane, man, that was terrible. I think he got talked to by the police after that or something like that. That dude got crushed.
Well, Awilix is going to be the last selection for NRG here. The jungler doesn't really have much help as far as knockups are concerned. It's pretty much just all along. But when it comes down to it, I don't really think Adapting is too concerned about the whole gravity surge pull. Awilix is a gimmick character in the hands of a less talented individual. But when it comes to the top players, the best in the world, one of which Adapting certainly is, Awilix can be just an incredible mid-game monster. NRG, they've got a couple of picks that work out well, but so do Obey Alliance, judging off of picks and bans. Aggro, how do you feel?
I like NRG. I'm still not a believer in Chang'e mid.
And Mr. Tolley?
Early game aggression between Yammyn and Adapting, they're going to go off very quickly.
Well, that's what we feel here on the desk. How do you guys feel on the horn?
Well, we'll find out exactly how we feel as we get into this game, because from my point of view here, I thought it's a very interesting composition coming out from Obey. Pretty standard, though, from NRG. They don't have to try too hard here.
They only really need what they win one game against Obey, their first seed, it's done. Now, if Obey 2-0 here, they will have to 2-0. Otherwise, it's going to be a tiebreaker. You know, you probably don't want to have to deal with that at all from NRG. I think they're feeling pretty confident to get first seed right now. But, I mean, this is a chance for both of these teams to do a little bit of experimenting on a high-level stage. And I kind of think that's what Obey's draft is.
With the Chang'e mid?
I think this is experimenting. I mean, I'm sure they've run it in scrims. I'm sure it's practice. It's nothing they're just going to bring out for the hell of it. But this will give them good experience. And I actually do like the comp around Chang'e. We saw Cringe Crew not really be able to protect it in the soul lane. But now you have PANDALIKE on a Cabrakan in support. You have the Batz coming out of jungle. Variety, you know, we've seen what his tier can bring. A lot of control there. And so this is definitely a comp that Chang'e does fit into.
But it is Cabrakan support. And the one thing about Cabrakan support is you want to get in range to find the stuns, and the tremors aren't going to be that useful in this scenario. There's a lot of things to shut down those tremors in this game that NRG have drafted.
You're standing in place, and so it's so easy to line up the CC, either the Silencer Spirit Ball coming out of Yammyn, Adapting if he can find the knockup from behind. Dimi can't interrupt it, but iRaffer can find the stun. emilitoo can, you know, stun too. There's a lot of options.
Oh, Dimi could do it with the turtle, don't forget. He's also got that.
True.
I mean, every single one of them has a way to cut out this tremors, and PANDALIKE's going to have to play this very well. He likes to be out of position a lot and get focused, and I think that's what's going to happen this game.
To be fair, that's what iRaffer likes to do. He's a little bit more in position. He really relies on his team to kind of follow up. iRaffer is this guy who will just bait himself into death. He doesn't care if he dies as long as his team is in an area where they can collapse around him afterwards. And with all the abilities and ultimate spent onto iRaffer, his team has a very easy fight.
Well, we heard from Adapting saying that emilitoo is toxic, and this game he's going to play Chronos for us. We've seen a little bit of his fray earlier on. I think emilitoo was just showing off his god pull depth here.
I'm not gonna lie, you know, emilitoo was, you know, a little bit of a toxic player. He was a very big troll back then. Okay, come on, you know it too. Don't play devil's advocate on this one. But emilitoo has come an incredibly long way with this team. We can really see what, you know, kind of becoming a world champ and working as a unit has really done for him. Before, I mean, he's been on competitive teams since Season 0, before the SPL was even a thing, but he never was able to be in such a structured unit.
Mid lane, already in a hell of a lot of trouble there. A lot of poke pressure onto the wing goes through, but PANDALIKE's hot spicy rotation is going to get first kill for PrettyPriMe.
Perfect Moonlit Waltz there, avoiding a ton of damage as a Chang'e against an Isis Awilix, and you bait long enough, just barely long enough, at only level 3 for your team to rotate in. The meditation also popped there from PANDALIKE, and PANDALIKE up to his old tactics, just rotating across the map as a support, very similar to, you know, what Pain Devion likes to do on enemy, Aurora on Eager, and I think most notably, probably Aurora. Aurora probably does the most, and then Trix Tank as well.
Prime at the same time there, showing his dance moves in the mid lane to survive that little engagement there as well. Going to be a very important game for him, because he did look like NRG were looking to exploit that straight away at the start of the early game. Chang'e.
Well, you know, when you go into a game and you see a Chang'e, you're like, man, how the hell do I play this? I haven't played against it at all. But Adapting played against it when Cringe Crew ran it 2 games in a row, and he just camped zeros all game.
And to be clear there, you saw that he didn't actually level into his 2 whatsoever. So he escaped that just with a purification that didn't go through because he was knocked up anyway, and got out from dodge just because of the sustain that Chang'e has in the kit.
Such a great start. Variety here getting a little bit pressured out. Obviously, Tier more that mid and late game monster. He can, if he gets ahead in lane, he can be dominant, but Dimi's not going to give him the opportunity. Also, Dimi is historically sick at every LAN, and day 1 and 2 he was a little bit, but he's very healthy right now.
Day 1 he was fine.
After they qualified, he's like, okay, I'm healthy now.
Yeah.
No more nerves.
Same old Dimi there. If he's not sick, they're not going to win championships. That's the rule that NRG seem to have here. Variety on the other hand, I will put these 2 down as probably the best 2 solo laners Europe have to offer at the moment. Xaylia, a little bit off the cusp for me.
He used to be one of the best, but definitely has fallen off, and Variety has slotted himself into that discussion for sure. Still a little bit inconsistent, but we know how big his strong aims are.
Look at these ganks from Panda everywhere on the map already. Still only level 4, looking for a stun, going to find it. Good follow-up damage, but Dimi just recognizing the situation, not going to panic. Just use a tilt.
Times it perfectly as well. If PandaLike is 5 there, they could probably set up the kill. But Dimi, you know, finding that root, however, obviously root immune is Cabrakan. Probably nothing he thought about there in the midst of it.
However, there is pressure now from NRG in the jungle, looking for the speed buff invade at the respawn time. Straight away taken out. Waxing Moon
Surprising
will
ult.
hit onto Adapting there, but there's no follow-up from that one. The speed buff already taken. Adapting will Suku away.
And that's just really abusing PandaLike rotating over to the right-hand side. We saw Obey really split up. Adapting recognizes that. That's the thing. If your buff is available, Adapting has so much map awareness, probably the best of any player in the world right now, that he will pick you off.
Well, PandaLike going super aggressive, but into the circle of protection. The Fear No Evil came down. Yammyn took a lot of free poke from that one. And Twig will pick up the kill onto Yammyn. Next up is the focus, possibly towards Adapting here, with PandaLike and now Variety turning up. They were looking for a little bit more of an engage there. They don't find the speed, but emilitoo.
He's rotated in here, but PandaLike's gonna find a nice stun. Here comes a TP. Variety does cancel the ward, but PandaLike's been left alone in mid.
But PandaLike is still tanking, he's still alive, and now Variety comes in. Fearless power cleave on emilitoo. emilitoo does not panic, however. Didn't use his purification or his rewind. Meanwhile, Ataraxia gets some free farm and looks towards the red buff.
And this is because emilitoo rotated over to the right-hand side. Ataraxia does not join the fight. Obey managed to back off, and right now, Obey are up against the world champions, about 600 gold. PandaLike started things off right, very early rotation to save PrettyPriMe. Adapting answers back a little bit as he tries to gank the solo lane, but good response. That's the thing. Obey's team fight is actually incredible. They have a lot of base damage in their kits as well that excels in these early game team fights.
Not going to lie though, Adonis, when I look at the composition from NRG and I look at the team, Yammyn's not had the performance we're used to seeing, and I'm not sure if that's down to his play this weekend or it's down to NRG synergy this weekend. Something's off in that mid lane. Yammyn's done a lot more than usual. That's something very rare.
I think it's human. I think they're human, but no. This is still, I mean, this is still an incredibly high level team in NRG, but it's not the same team I think we saw win last Smite World Championship. They're definitely going to have to tighten things up. But to be fair, we have seen teams, especially in Europe, start to get way more competitive. This Obey lineup are disgusting right now.
I mean, start the split, last split here as Variety's under a lot of pressure.
Solo!
Could fall down. No, the sustain will come through for a second, but yes, the solo will come through from Dimi. Cleans it up nice and easy.
I think Dimi has the most solo kills of this tournament. I've seen at least 4 guaranteed from him. Might have picked up some in the earlier days as well.
We didn't really talk about the matchup too much in this lane, but the pin is a cripple if you hit it in the center. And what does Tyr do? Well, he wants to move with that Fearless, and you can't use it if you are crippled. Comes into play.
And Adapting immediately rotates over as well. They know that the teleport was down from Variety. They have the timer on it, and they're able to pressure out this tier 1. They actually got a little bit worried, knowing that Twig was rotating over, but the second he steps back into the jungle towards the mid lane, they know they have that free tier 1 uncontested.
And because of that, they even the gold out. That was all Dimi's work there. Getting that solo kill and Variety exploited the situation for NRG, brought this game to an even standing.
And now Variety gonna have to play a little bit more careful. Nice teleport from Twig.
3, and there's a Fear No Evil. Focus a bit off the mark here, knowing that Dimi was coming in too. Forces a purification on Twig, who falls back to the safety of his tower.
Twig is playing so good. The monkey bounces have been perfect. The Fear No Evil placement as well, finding 3. Not enough damage on PrettyPriMe to confirm any kills.
You know what this is, Dennis? You know what this game is right now?
This is no pressure.
This is no pressure Obey. They've qualified, they're not expected to be NRG, and they're just playing their game.
Why can't they do this every game?
Because stress, man. This happens in every single game. Right hand side, though, Panda's feeling himself a bit too much. Emil's still alive! 1-for-1 trade, but it works out well because he loses a few minions.
Ataraxia, though, ooh, nice agility there. Variety does find Adapting in the right-hand side. They invade the speed buff successfully. Not exactly sure what happened there. Purification was used by Adapting, but still picked up. Probably a Fearless. It was burned on, and then you know, the Fear No Evil not even up, but still able to pick them off.
Now, they haven't beat NRG just yet still.
No.
But this game's looking great. Already, I mean, 7 minutes in, 4-2, you found a couple of picks, you're picking off the lineup of NRG, you're keeping them guessing more than anything else.
I think the biggest thing is we don't ever really see NRG get picked off as much as it's happened so far. A lot of times it's they'll lose a team fight, but that's it.
And Yammyn did not see round the corner, Ataraxia was waiting. Now Gresh onto Yammyn a little bit more there. The Sans will stop the overhand smash, but he'll get it up with the second
Twig.
tick. That, however, bought time for the rotation from NRG to answer it back and give Adapting a kill.
1-for-1 again, and that's the one thing that NRG is getting. They're getting a lot of trade-offs. We saw PANDALIKE on the left-hand side, and then just there, Yammyn able to buy enough time for his team to rotate in. I mean, if that silence doesn't come through and the overhand smash connects, Twig just walks out on that left-hand side tier 1, and it's going to be very hard for NRG to get a return kill.
But that's 3 deaths for Yammyn now, and he's actually down 600 gold.
Wow,
to
0-3.
PrettyPriMe in the mid lane, and Prime, one of the top mid laners in Europe as well, alongside Yammyn.
To be fair, Isis is very vulnerable. Season 0, Season 1, and I think the start of Season 2, Isis was never picked. Not a single person played her outside of Sayo in Europe and Mace to the face in North America. But now that people and teams value a lot more of that early pressure for her, you do see her picked up. But again, like a Zeus, doesn't have a lot of survivability outside of that ultimate and kind of hoping you can sustain through the damage. And so adapting's not really able to help protect Yammyn. He's typically on the opposite side of the match. And iRaffer hasn't really been seen anytime he's been picked off either.
Prime now with a 2-level lead then. He's doing his best not to back too often, but Yammyn's not going to let that happen just yet. With a fantastic little spirit ball coming through there. Did a good job of managing his mana here, which is very important if you want to abuse the bunny rabbit.
And he does, I mean, he's got a soul stone. He's starting to work on either I'm assuming Chronos. It's going to be a Chronos pendant. Yeah. So he's got a lot of MP5 now. He's going to be fine. He's going to be able to send that bunny back to keep himself in lane, make sure he's always available for fights. And also, I mean, he's got a heal in his kit.
And the bunny's one of those things that you don't talk about too often, but it does really make an impact.
We don't see Chang'e enough to talk about
exactly, but that ability to buy items, stay in the lane, continue game farm while still getting those items online is so important.
I tell you though. Oh, actually, Variety could be in trouble here. Dimi does have ult, but...
What are you going to tell me?
I got distracted because I thought that was a potential solo kill. No.
Oh.
I think it was Tom I talked with. I'm pretty sure Chang'e's bunny is the one that lost to the turtle in the race. Because he's the slowest. He's the slowest bunny I've ever seen. My man's like limping to base.
Is it because he's slow?
He's slow. So you can buy items, but it takes like an hour.
But
the game's over by the time you get your first item.
Twig trading with Adapting, Fear Weevil versus Featherset. Purification burnt, Adapting
that knockup.
Twig over the wall to get away. No gravity surge used by Adapting though. Wingers from Yammyn
nice
coming around the corner. Big ultimate coming out from Prime, but it won't stop Dimi picking up the kill.
PANDALIKE is here, but he's by himself, way pushed up. Ataraxia around the corner has made the rotation. That's going to allow emilitoo a ton of solo farm, but good play from Twig until the late purification. He manages to jump over the wall, but right there, Yammyn waiting in the wings for him.
And that was a really big, you heard me scream out, oh, because PANDALIKE there, he literally drops his ultimate, but just as the animation was coming through, you heard there's nowhere, and then Isis.
I don't really know if dropping the ult there would have been the best option. I think he just dies.
Maybe?
I mean, NRG had 4 players and he was by himself. I guess Ataraxia was there. Maybe they could have knocked him up and got the timing right, but...
I will say PANDALIKE playing very aggressive this game, right from minute go. He came to mid lane, helped pick up the first blood, then went solo lane, looked for pressure there. Then he's diving around into the, near the red buffs.
My man's jungling. I think Repikash, you heard it on kind of that video of him. All he does is he just appears at your mid harpies or your back harpies level 2, and you're like, what is he doing? I don't know.
Listen, PANDALIKE has a secret achievement, right? He's still trying to get the achievement in the game, which is take 2,000 back harpies, okay? He started it in season 1. He's gotta have it. No, listen, he started season 1 when he was on Mortality with Moex alongside him, always invading those backs. He's still working on it to this day, I swear. He's up to like 1,000 by now.
He's gotta have 1,000.
Though.
I've seen him just steal so many back harpies. This time, though, making his presence known, not for stealing camps, but for making sure to try and set up kills here. Basic player comparison, though, Prime, has been on point this tournament. Like you said, Yammyn, a little bit lacking. Not kind of what we normally see from him.
But they still are 2 of the best mid laners in Europe, and if not Europe, the world as well.
I agree.
Fantastic performances from them. EU's depth of mid lane is just so strong right now.
I think it's Prime's consistency that really does it for me. And it doesn't matter what guide you put him on. He loves these big mage ultimates, and he always makes them work. iRaffer trying to contest this gold.
Spirit Ball for the win. Not going to get it, though. Obey, pick up the Gold Fury. Now they're looking to try and answer back here, NRG. PANDALIKE with the first to fall to the circle of protection. Knock up on Ataraxia's put him in pressure. Ataraxia's going to use the airstrike to get away. Variety falling back too, but the channel through a gap. Variety CC to death there. 1 hit, and Dimi gets it. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, Twig goes down 2. NRG are back. Hello, boys.
This is, okay. It's the 12-minute energy. Sometimes it takes until 15, 18 minutes, but the immediate group up in there, you saw the strength of that mid-smash in the solo lane. Not player skill-wise, but the Erlang Shen, that root cripple, absolutely destroys Variety. I think we saw a silence as well come out from Yammyn just as he tried to get a Fearless Chain. Variety, he's only level 13 right now. Because he got solo killed, he hasn't been able to get that solo lane experience farm that he's typically used to having. When these mid-game team fights happens, a lot of times he's, 2-3 levels above and he can survive a lot of the damage that's output, but not the case here because Dimi was able to pressure him out so much.
And that game is still even now. The Gold Fury, you saw the spike on the graph there. That was the goal going to Obey, but straight afterwards, the stairs down were very steep. It was not a decent decline.
It was just almost straight down. Doesn't get any worse than that, and that's the thing. You can give up Gold Furies a lot in the early game as long as you can get the team fight afterwards, and NRG did a really good job there. They baited out a lot of ults very early. CaptainTwig, the Fear No Evil, was used to secure it, so it wasn't useful in that fight afterwards.
Back comes a cheeky-looking iRaffer for a steal there, but on his own, he's not going to stay there too long.
Righty.
The Dwarf's out of position. Dwarf,
That's a lot onto
back
him.
to the team, waxing moon, but he's going to get away from that. You do see he did have the Greaves to actually give him a little bit of cooldown reduction. So yeah, TT reduction,
Twig,
but
he's going to
mid-lane-
find the ult there, and a wall as well from PandaLike. The trimmers are good, but Dimi knows, just knock down the walls, run through, and the chase is good.
We are the law, though, says Variety. He's not having any of that. Meanwhile, left-hand side, Ataraxia finds out what Vote MBK did yesterday or the day before, and adapting, swinging around the back and picking up sneaky kills.
Left-hand side, though, Obey has made the rotation. Twig, he has a jump. Nice stun.
That could still jump to that if he wanted to, but
It would have been not worth at all. He was way too low. Adapting would only need a Feather Step to kill him. He just gets a basic, and he can actually... So the second the Hundats goes for overhand smash, because Feather Step is so fast, you can actually get that first basic attack, and then Feather Step over the overhand smash because it is such a long animation. Twig knows that too. There's no way he's getting that kill.
Man, Homebats is rubbish. He uses overhand smash, he goes in the air, but he's still in combat. You can still hit him when he's in the air, man. The monkey's so bad.
Come on. The monkey... hey. The monkey has been dominating
no,
this tournament.
No, he has not. That's a lie.
That is a lie.
That is a lie. Everybody's been calling out the monkey as
Last
being
tournament
easy to play against.
Group B, he was really impactful.
And then people realize, hang on a second, we can listen to sound and realize when he's about to fear no evil and respond with beads or ultimates in response.
Well, the difference is, too, I think NRG are the best relic team in the game. I think their knowledge on when they can save purification when getting stunned, when to use their sanctuary, when to just hold their sanctuary because they're dead anyway, to have it up for the next fight. There's not a single team that reacts faster and more intelligently use those relics than them.
There's a lot of trust in this team, though, NRG. They trust in their teammates to perform to the highest level a lot of the time. They'll leave a kill, one hit from death, knowing that Adapting will land that double tap from max range, or, he'll swing around the back with an Isis Spirit Ball from Yammyn connecting to secure a kill. This team is very well executed, looking for things like that, but talking about execution, Obey in the mid lane, PandaLike was looking for something. He's going to eat a hammer instead.
We saw Twig rotate around that side as well, but I think Adapting spotted him out. PandaLike still going aggressive, just looking for that poke damage. Something to note is actually, Obey don't have a lot of ranged poke. Everything they're going to do is very close in your face outside of Ataraxia's Wing Gust. So when they go into these fights, they need to make sure to full commit. They cannot get into a poke war. There's no way they're going to come out on top.
PandaLike fighting a couple. They're going to get pulled in.
Bye-bye,
He turned
Panda.
around. Goodbye, Panda. Well then.
And that's a PandaLike play. Jumped up into 4 by himself. Now PrettyPriMe gonna have to run away. You can see iRaffer just swinging his camera around, making sure he has full view of his team.
But he's still on his own.
Early
He's
sanctuary,
here.
and there's the
Still
Feather
no
Step.
support. He's survived a long time, Prime, but he won't be able to do it against the whole team. Ataraxia can't really get there. CaptainTwig not available to get swing around with the Fear No Evil. Just 2 free picks for NRG.
And Obey started off really strong, I think 4-2 in kills, and you can see that swing. It's only been 2-8 since then. NRG, after that Gold Fury, have just turned things on.
Now, we'll bring back to the fact that I mentioned about PandaLike likes to go aggressive and invade all the time. We saw him get picked then. iRaffer used to be his teammate on that team on Mortality.
He knows what he's
iRaffer was the
doing.
jungler. He knows exactly PandaLike's playstyle. He knows how to expose the weaknesses of it too.
To be fair, I don't think we've seen PandaLike have a change in playstyle.
No, he never has.
We've seen a lot of players, switch it up. emilitoo, most notably, I think, in this game, is definitely the player that has the biggest swing.
But there's only certain teams that can really utilize it as an advantage. Some teams didn't. Dignitas, as an example, didn't really get on very well
Got
there
out.
with PandaLike trying to do that sort of playstyle. It didn't fit their moral compass. It does for Obey, though.
I mean, every player has a different playstyle. It doesn't matter if, all 16 hunters in the SPL between NA and EU will play differently. They have different gods that they prefer.
Yep.
You know, almost no one plays Hou-Yi now, but Oceans, we saw him still bring it out after the nerfs and crush with it. There are those playstyle differences.
There's a fight from PandaLike. Waxing Moon available. Hitting 2. Focus all invested here onto little old Dimi, who gets a taunt off to cancel it
Trying
out.
to stay alive. No.
Won't get the heal through, however. Rotation from emilitoo and Ataraxia here. And this was a perfect start for Obey as the Gold Fury is available.
And emilitoo, low mana as well. Variety knows it. He's just trying to pressure him out. They should probably just go for the Gold Fury now. Don't waste time. Don't give emilitoo time to back because he has no mana. You can force this very easily. You don't have a Wrath, but you can bait a fight.
Yeah, NRG looking to try and defend this, I guess, here. But Variety's going to zone away iRaffer for now. iRaffer has his ultimate available. The boys of NRG just trying to buy time so Yammyn can get in here too. Has circle of protection. emilitoo on his way back from base 2. But Twig has had enough of
Fear
that.
No Evil.
Fear no evil early on. Gold Fury getting very low. Gold Fury goes to Obey. But now Twig's in trouble.
He's dead, actually. And now deep into the fight, you see the juggle happening. Yammyn very low, surrounded by 2. PrettyPriMe looking for the kill, and he does come up with it. But PandaLike's been left alone as well. Variety over the top connects and adapting 1 hit away from death.
And PandaLike still alive. emilitoo not going to find the
What?
job. Ataraxia picks up Raffer and he wants adapting
Do it.
too. Come here, best player in the world, he says. But at the same time, Adapt's like, no, I'll get out. I am the escape artist that is Awilix.
And here comes emilitoo back into the fight. Good stun from Prime, gonna buy a little bit of time, but it's probably not gonna be enough. Variety still managing to stay alive, and emilitoo actually backed off. And now Variety's still trying to juke, doing a great job, but the shots finally lined up.
And that's a good kill for them now. I'm really surprised that Ataraxia didn't back and just come back to the fight again there. Could have used the passive. He wanted the farm on the right-hand side. It works out well for Obey. Very skirmishy fight there, Adonis, but the gold... Actually, no, it got answered back. Are you serious? That's crazy.
There's
I didn't
no,
realize,
no.
I didn't realize energy was that far ahead after the 2 towers. That was my problem. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, the Gold Fury just made it even again.
The Gold Fury definitely evened it up. Energy, it's because they were so far, they were about a 1K gold lead, I think, behind. Obey did get off to a really good start. They answered that back, but both Gold Furies have gone to Obey, and so a dead even game. Energy have to feel okay about that.
Yeah, I think Energy will be fine with the situation, especially with all the towers being up. It gives better map presence for themselves here. A little bit of an advantage, and Obey have to watch how far forward they come without placing wards.
And CaptainTwig been doing a great job on this Hunbats all tournament long, especially that final game against Cringe Crew. In this game, he had some really nice plays in the early game, but the issue is he started to fall behind and he's not able to have that same impact.
Well, the pressure mid lane has allowed him to get those right-hand harpies as well, but Ataraxia will share it. He's losing a bit of farm on the left-hand side here, as it looks like Obey want to group up and fight the mid lane.
And this is one issue that Obey's comp does have, very similar to Cringe Crew's from yesterday.
Blink there by the looks of it. Twig really wants Emil.
Really, Twig.
Gonna use the hammer and then get the Fear No Evil overhand smash too. Twig is going in right now. Uh-oh. You don't want to go that way,
crit.
my friend.
If there was a crit, that would have been a kill, but emilitoo's found himself in the middle of 3, caged off as well.
The circle of protection heals them all up. Raffer gets 1, the pull back in. He's going to put PandaLike in an awkward spot. He goes down to adapting. Next on the list is Variety. He is the law. He'll escape. Next up, though, Ataraxia.
Okay,
has used the
Ataraxia.
Jing way. Repositions twice, and the chase is on.
Dimi trying to close the gap, accelerates, popped as well. PrettyPriMe and Ataraxia, they're going to get to their tower, but look at this.
round the
adapting,
back.
looped around, perfect movement from him, and they have no
Surprise
idea.
pin.
Feather Step finds one.
And the Gust will buy him a second, but the Spirit Ball confirms the kill. Variety still running away as Prime does his best impression of survivability as he can, but he falls 2. Variety's next on the list, and emilitoo gets the double, diving a tier 2 when the tier 1 still stands.
Deicide for Energy, incredibly clean. Raffer doing a great job in that fight. We saw him zone off both Ataraxia and, I think it was PrettyPriMe and CaptainTwig in that left-hand lane. He just went into Dragon Form and he just sat in front of them. He didn't allow them back into the fight, and so the other 3 members of Obey were left by themselves. They couldn't survive the onslaught. That circle protection comes up big for Yammyn, drops it just as the engage happens. We saw emilitoo go basically, rewind straight back into it, big circle on the ground, and just Obey. There was so much reduced damage because of that, and then the big heal at the end. Can we actually take a look? I'd be interested to see how much that did heal for, because I think that's the only one we've really seen from Yammyn.
Not that much, just
What,
1,000. But I mean, if it was 1,000 just for one, that's not too bad. As Energy will return to their jungle and give adapting the speed buff again here. Talking about Yammyn a little bit more though as well, Adonis. I mentioned that he's not had the best of tournaments, but is this maybe focus from the other team, recognizing just how much of an impact player Yammyn is?
I think they've been focusing him when he's on weaker gods, and a lot of times Yammyn is very used to playing around protect the mid lane styles, and I don't really think his team's done the best job of that. We see iRaffer basically being a secondary jungler this game, similar to PANDALIKE. We've seen him a lot on the right-hand side. Even right now, I mean, he's warding Fire Giant, that makes sense. It's pretty late into the game, but he hasn't really been there when Yammyn has been ganked.
That's true. The only time we saw him play the Capri, he had instant cast on, so those ultimates did not connect with his mid laner very often as he would have liked. And most of the time, we've seen more aggressive gods like Athena, like the Fafnir. Not as much the Gebs, the Sylvanas, and the Capris we've seen in the past.
Well, Variety's going to blink forward. Dimi got a zone in the back line, and Variety is doing no damage and taking a whole lot.
Oh, he's really chunked out now. Has Fear No Evil available? So has Lawbringer available,
He's
but
gone.
not even going to get it off. emilitoo credited for the kill. Meanwhile, on the front side, iRaffer keeping them all busy. Clumps up together. PANDALIKE trying to peel for his team to get back to the safety of the Tier 2 tower. But a Spirit Ball from Yammyn was on the mark, as was a Fear No Evil from Twig. The fight is raging, and Yammyn's pinned in an awkward spot, but he's not attacking the tower at the moment. It's PANDALIKE who will fall as emilitoo gets the kill.
And it's going to be trouble for Ataraxia as well. He's got to dash out. PrettyPriMe still in this fight, trying to dance and weave inside, but he's surrounded by 3. Ataraxia finds nice shots and actually is going to turn around. You could see NRG are fairly low. They're not going to feel comfortable with pushing this Tier 2 tower. That fight was really extended, and Nate is going in!
Sanctuary used. That's what you're looking at. One more hit. Airstrike will not connect on ISIS. America once again fails.
He's European, though.
Same thing.
No, it's not.
Same thing.
It's really not. But Ataraxia, though, this is Unchained Ataraxia. This is him with no care this game. This is a play style we haven't seen from him. We're seeing him go incredibly deep. We're seeing him pick up all these kills and just be so overly aggressive. Not his standard play style.
Well, you just saw Adapt in there, meet CaptainTwig, and CaptainTwig find out what it's like to try and farm a wave of fire minions when you don't... Sorry, don't fire minions. Farm a wave of minions away from a Tier 2 or Tier 1 tower even existed.
I don't think there were any wards on the left-hand side for him to notice that. I actually like to see the wards placed for NRG here, and just look at the difference. Top 3 belonging to them. 12 by adapting. He's actually outwarding everyone on his team.
Really, really interesting game between these two. NRG definitely in the lead now, though. You've seen Obey have fought hard and strong. I like the freedom they've given themselves to play, though. They're not holding anything back for me. They're going a little bit too ham sometimes. Maybe this wouldn't be a situation, and I'd rather than be aggressive against NRG than be passive and lose a game slowly.
This is the best experience Obey are going to get, because no matter what happens here, even if they find a 2-0, NRG still can qualify as first seed by beating Cyclone with a 2-0, which seems incredibly likely at this point. Cyclone probably a little bit demoralized. Yeah, they're playing for some points, trying to get a little bit of seeding in, but it's not going to be... I think NRG is going to walk all over them.
And I will like state a line here that we've heard in the past from some other casters, but death by 1,000 cuts is what NRG do. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what Obey can't let happen. They have to try and stop the bleed if they can. And to do that, you kind of have to play overly aggressive sometimes.
And look at this, trying to force the issue, as Tolly would say on the right-hand side, a big grouping. But Dimi is just going to head back to base. They really wanted a pick to force that tower on the right-hand side, start to chip away at this lead that NRG has garnered. And the lead's not that massive. I mean, 25 minutes in, about 5,000. This is definitely something they can fight into. The experience difference is definitely a big part, looking at Dimi and adapting. They have that 3-level lead. And we saw Variety, TP in and try and go for this setup, but he's just so far behind. I mean, if he can farm out for another 5-6 minutes, get another item online, hit level 20, then that tier is gonna start to become the Variety tier that we saw, I think, just the other day.
Player damage though, look at Prime. Sat on the top is a Chang'e, not often you see that. Talking about not often you see, Twig's going for a wild ride.
He's dead.
Straight into ISIS. What? Good night, sweet prince, you will be missed, as will Variety. Next on the list is Cabrakan. After that, let's take out Chang'e. Ataraxia, how you doing back there, buddy? You got a team with you?
I don't think he does. His team just kind of died. I mean, Twig just actually died. He was, about 70% when he got knocked up, pulled with Gravity Surge, the Ice Assault was down, and then detonated the second he hit the ground, and he was just gone. And now this might be game. All 5 members of NRG barreling down here. This is going to guarantee them first seed if they can find this. And it's going to be true.
With the Coerce coming through as well. NRG not messing around in this game 1. They came into it hoping that, they would automatically have this spot, but that game, we'll put it to bed. NRG, #1 seed out of Group C.
And that's going to determine the European regional bracket as well. All 4 of those teams, a single best of 5 away from SWC. NRG gonna have to face up against Sanguine, and then obviously Obey. They're gonna have it hard against Orbit.
The double O on the other half of the bracket. One of them will go down to the group stage that will have the Super Regionals as well, as we find out from Group D who else will be joining them as time goes on in this one.
Man, that one's gonna be brutal.
Good performance from NRG there, though. I loved the way Obey played, though. Fast and free. I kind of wanted to see him do that, just to see they showed real skill, is what I want to show against the world champions.
We saw the mechanical prowess that Twig is able to bring out that game. Sure, it doesn't go their way. PANDALIKE, though, going a little bit too aggressive. I mean, it worked in the early game, but he didn't recognize and transition his playstyle into being a little bit more passive. I think Ataraxia went a lot harder than, you know, even a typical aggressive Hunters would.
He got his Jing way, and Ataraxia himself said, I'm not going to get to play Jing way too much anymore. They all recognize it. They don't want to deal with it, so I'm never going to see it again.
I would actually really love to see Ataraxia Unchained in a match that's, you know, really going to matter at Super Regionals. I'm not saying, you know, the full-on go forward, but no more of this passive Ataraxia that, you know, lets his team farm up. I think he has the skill to take on some of the best Hunters in the world. He is just so timid and so hesitant because he's much more concerned about not making any mistakes.
Very, very interesting indeed. But one thing he has to work on is landing those airstrikes on ISIS. After, take it away with the analysis of Game 1.
Fantastic stuff here as we move into game number 2. We'll see how these guys are going to feel. I don't know. These are the games that are kind of more practice-oriented. One thing I do want to say, though, the Chang'e mid coming out of PrettyPriMe, excuse me, was it was a pleasure to watch. I still want to talk about the build in private with Mr. Prime, but when it comes down to it, Chang'e's a character that I respect, and I think it does have a place, and I feel like it's been shoehorned, but today I think PrettyPriMe kind of played it a little bit better than what we've seen this weekend.
And I'm really surprised that it was Chang'e that didn't get taken advantage of in the early game. It was Obey that actually got off to a really good start, but they couldn't keep forcing the issue, unfortunately.
I mean, of course, you know, we're always looking for them to force the issue, totally, but PrettyPriMe near the top of the damage charts overall, but I don't know, man. Chang'e mid, it doesn't bring what you want out of your mid laner. The CC's only on the ultimate. You have to be close range. You don't get the farm that you need to be that, like, sort of battle mage sort of style, like you mentioned off to me there, F. I don't know. I just don't like it.
It's rough, you know. Like I said, I feel like it's been forced a couple of times, but either way, a couple of other spicy picks. The Cabrakan came out, and it's all the ripple effects of what you're choosing and all this set and third. It gets very complicated, but when it comes down to it, I think Obey had a fun lineup here. They were able to practice just a little bit because they are going to Super Regionals. Let's take a look at what that will look like and what everybody competing for will wind up being. And you can see Eager over there will determine that next week who Eager is going to fight along with Luminosity. But the right side of the bracket, hey, we're all finished. Orbit. Those are the guys formerly known as Paradigm. They'll be going head-to-head against Obey Alliance. And then NRG, they're your #1 seed, and they'll be taking on Sanguine.
Really important win for NRG to secure that first seed heading against Sanguine, but it's going to be still interesting to see because Sanguine have always been doing their homework very consistently. They know the draft for not only what works for them, but what to take away from their opposition.
Exactly. Some recent changes as well. So it should, or not to Sanguine, but we'll see how that works out now that the bracket has changed to be all finished.
Very excited to see, like you mentioned, Toli, Sanguine comes up with something new. You know what I mean? They were the one who started this whole tanky healer sort of composition. We'll see if they're willing to break out another one here at Super Regionals. I'm sure Nika and the boys are working on something, but NRG's a tough team to bring something like that against. That's an experienced team. It's a talented team. It's going to be tough for Sanguine.
Absolutely.
Here they are adapting, showing his prowess here out of the jungle. Fantastic stuff, and this was just against Obey. You could honestly take any of the shots. I started talking before about how all of the players are very strong. All of these plays wind up being strong in highlight material.
I mean, it starts off with adapting, then it transitions to Emil, so you'll see Yammyn have a big circle of protection, and Dimi had an awesome game this time on Erlang. Shen, iRaffer doing his job, setting up for his team, securing objectives. They do it all. Every single one of those players does it all.
I love seeing the long-range Spirit Ball. You hear it, you don't see it, and then you see it come forward. You see Yammyn get the kill, and then you just see the Isis come out from behind. Isis is just one of the more dynamic characters that we have here. So game number